I was struggling for the past year and a half, 2 years with trying to lose weight.
I just can't get rid of the stubborn weight in my legs and in my belly.
While everyone is unique and will have varied results, here are extraordinary experiences from independent body affiliates and actual Rebuttal users.
There's nothing more frustrating than knowing that you're eating well, but it's not working.
Hormone imbalances were preventing these women from losing weight. Now there's a comprehensive plan to help.
With Rebuttal, I just noticed changes immediately. That stubborn scale finally moved.
In this first week, I lost 5 pounds.
Just after 1 week, I'm down 6 pounds and all of my bloating is gone.
I just finished the Rebuttal program. I have lost 15 pounds and I have never felt better.
I've noticed inches just shed every week that I go through.
I feel like an entirely different person.
I don't know if I've ever felt this good.
Get hormone health for women at Rebuttal.com. And while supplies last, save 15% with promo code BV15.
Hey guys, how you doing? And welcome back to In the Mind of the Man with Jax Taylor. How are you guys? Okay. First of all, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to give a little bit of a rebuttal from the last podcast that Brittany and Kristen did. Not taking anything away from what they said, but there's some things that are not 100% accurate. So, you know, a lot of you guys know this because I've talked about it over the years, but I don't really typically watch any of the episodes that I've been on over the years for obvious reasons. And to be honest, also, I just don't like watching myself on TV. You know, it's always been like super, super uncomfortable for me for obvious reasons. So, you know, obviously too, I'm on social media and, you know, I do see a lot of the headlines, and the clips of many things that I've been tagged on. And, obviously it's very, very hard for me to, you know, to avoid. I try, but, you know, people are going to talk. It's just what people do. No matter what you do in life, you could be, you know, Mona Lisa, people are going to say something. So I don't know. I to be honest, for the most part, I really don't care what people say. So, you know, especially though this year with my divorce though, and that being so public, and also about to be shown on national TV in a few weeks. So it's been tough seeing that stuff every day, you know, like just imagine going through divorce. That's already hard enough. But then imagine going through a divorce publicly, with everybody's opinion, because everybody has one, which it's tough, you know. And I feel like some people are making this out to be, I can't believe you're getting divorced and yada, yada. Yeah, it's sad. It really is, you know, but life goes on. And like I said, I don't know the exact divorce rate, but I feel like you can close your eyes, throw a rock, and hit somebody that's gone through a divorce. And you know, that's just the way, you know, the way it is right now. So anyway, you know, like I'm only human, you know, and I see things that, you know, are not entirely factual that really triggers me. For the most part, a lot of things are true, and that's just the way it is. But so everything that I'm going to say to you guys now is basically, you know, me actually listening to every word that was said. I wanted to make sure it was very accurate. I didn't want to touch on this without having the full context of the story. I obviously sat there and took notes. But there's, you know, obviously it was really tough to listen to. I'm not going to argue with everything that she was saying because there's some stuff that was true, but, you know, there was some things that were totally not true. And, you know, there's definitely some holes in some of the facts. And the reason I believe that is because Brittany was not aware of some of the things because we were not living together. So, you know, I believe that she was making up her own conclusions to fit her narrative because it's impossible for her to know what was actually going on because we didn't see each other for 8 months, you know? So, and obviously by no means am I saying I'm husband of the year. I'm actually saying the polar opposite. So I made a lot of mistakes during my marriage and, you know, and I'm aware of that. It happens. And anybody that's kind of gone through a divorce knows definitely how hard it can be. And like I said before, I'm a public figure. Everything is in the news. So it's, you know, 2 or 3 times as hard. So anyway, you know, we all have our arguments in marriage, and sometimes it gets extremely heated and yelling matches. And, you know, I feel like that's normal. I've been around everybody in my group, okay? I can tell I know everybody in the world kind of goes through arguments and stuff, but just in my group alone, and when I say group, I mean cast members, I see them going to town on each other, the couples. So, it happens. It is what it is. So, there's not one perfect couple out there. Like I said, though, just my marriage seems to be extremely, extremely magnified. And because my relationship is on TV for you all to see, it just makes things a lot more difficult. Okay, so starting with the episode with Brittany and Kristen that they recorded together. Here's my thoughts on that. So one of the things Kristen said, which I completely agree with, is that my feelings are very valid, but my actions are not. She was 100% right that I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. And it's no secret that one of the main reasons I went to the mental health facility back in the summer was to address my rages and how to control my anger, because I have a lot of that. And, I also, I'm not blaming everything on the substance, but the substance definitely played a huge role and at the way I was acting, especially right after we separated, because I just didn't care. I was just like, fuck it. I'm going to just drink and do drugs. I'm miserable. I just went down a really, really bad hole. I have not raged or even raised my voice to anyone since I've been out of the facility, back in December. I don't even know how Kristen could even speak on this. I haven't even talked to her in God knows how long, probably since filming, to be honest. So again, they are just filling their narrative, what they quote unquote think is going on. I'm 100% transparent with everything that's been going on right now, because I believe that a lot of men have gone through this and a lot of women have gone through this. And I just want to say it's okay. As long as we are aware of what's going on and we go and get help. So Brittany asked me to come to Cruz's doctor appointment that day because she thought I was hungover and it wouldn't have gone over well, which she was definitely 100% right about. However, no matter how horrible I feel the next day, I always made a point to be there for my kid. I would never miss an appointment, a school drop off, or any responsibility that comes with him. But I gotta say, I mean, just let me ask you this: if you saw a text, put yourself in my shoes, okay? I think this is a way to put it. If you saw a text in the morning on your way to your son's appointment with your wife in the car, and you saw a message coming up from another man in your car, how do you think I'm going to act? Do you want me to be calm? Yes, ideally I should have been calm, but let's be honest, that's not now how men act, and that's definitely not how I acted. So yeah, Brittany also made a point to say that the only reason I went to the facility to get help was because my job was at risk, and I do want to touch on that, okay, real quick, because people have like speculation on that, and I want to clear that up. So I want to give you, the most accurate portrayal of what my life looked like in that moment in the car in November, because it was not good. I've been literally on the worst bender of my life for the last, literally, I would say between 8 and 10 months. I was the sickest I've ever been in the darkest place of my life. I think everything went crazy just because I spiraled when I saw the Julian thing. And I think just from then on, I just saw red, and I didn't realize what I was doing. I didn't realize I pushed my wife away, and it just, I don't really have any answers. It was just a bad thing. And after that horrible instance with Brittany, I absolutely did look back in the back seat and saw Cruz, and I felt sick to my stomach. I cannot believe that this is where it's gone, to where I was raising my voice in front of my son. And yeah, you can't imagine how that feels, especially for me. I've just never, ever wanted that in my life. And I can't even explain it. It's just like I'm so emotional. But did Brittany call Alex Baskin and my manager and my publicist? Yes, she absolutely did. Was my job at risk? It was. I won't sit here and say that potentially losing my job wasn't a driving force to me getting the help, because it was. I mean, I think anybody who would go through what I'm going through would be scared about losing their job. Doesn't matter what job you have, you would be scared of losing your job. And Bravo and the network were never forced me to do anything. They never called. They never said, this is what you have to do. But I feel like that I was such a liability, and I could potentially put my job at risk, my son at risk. It was absolutely the biggest reason for me to go. So, for example, Brittany and I had many explosions like this over the years. It wasn't really, anything new. But she only really put her foot down and demanded I get help, or else she was going to file for divorce when we were filming. I don't know. I'm not saying that she did this for the show in any way, but there was I think it gave her the driving force to kind of finally do what she needed to do for a long time. I feel like there was a little bit of pressure there. And it was similar for me too, you know. I've known how bad my addictions and my mental health got. However, it was filming and potentially losing my job that was my driving force to get better. I didn't want to lose my job. Who wants to lose their job, especially over something like this, you know? So anyway, so she also mentioned back in November that I lasted 24 hours at another facility, which is definitely true, but I did not feel comfortable in that place. And just like a therapist, you have to find an environment that works for you. I didn't like that place. It was a really rundown place. I was in a hurry to get somewhere else. I didn't research it as much as I would have liked to. And it was a place that just did not work for me. So yeah, I lasted 24 hours, got out, and went to another facility. That is 100% true. But like I said, just like a therapist, you have to find a place that works for you and makes you feel comfortable, especially when you're going through something that deals with mental health. So you need to understand all this happened a day before Thanksgiving. So it wasn't not easy to find a facility to get myself into. Brittany told me like she had all these plans. People were going to come over to the house that she was cooking for. And I know she mentioned that she was so overwhelmed and worried that I was just going to show up. And honestly, you know, I didn't trust myself either. You know, there was times in my head like, I'm just going to go. And I'm like, I know that's a bad idea, but I was just so angry, you know. I was I think at probably, again, one of my lowest points. And given it being the holidays and being completely alone, I needed to get myself somewhere, I guess, immediately. That's how I was feeling. Like, it was bad. I just want to say it was really, really bad, guys. The holidays were really, really, really rough for me. I was alone on Christmas. I was alone on Thanksgiving. You know, nobody checking in on me. So it was really, really, it was hard. It was really, really hard. So therefore, after leaving the first rehab center, that I wasn't comfortable in, I checked myself back into Psyclarity, which is the first place that I went to. I went back there because, you know, the reason it didn't work the first time for me is because I really didn't give it a chance. I was so in my head about the fact that the cast was filming that I couldn't get it out of my head that they're talking about me. I can't control what's going on. And it was just constantly in my head that like, I'm missing out. And I was just like going through a hole. Imagine like being stuck in a room while all your friends are on an island talking about you and having a good time. It would be really hard to not really fully concentrate and be dedicated to the program. So it wasn't the place. It was definitely me. So, she also said this was a big thing too. She also said that I failed both drug tests at both facilities, which is not true. The first center I went to, yes, I failed, which is the whole reason why I had to go to rehab in the first place. Everybody fails the first time they go to rehab. Everybody fails when they first get into rehab. Absolutely. However, I never failed the second one. I asked Brittany also to drug test me at any time. She bought these drug tests online. I go, Brittany, I get tested every week, once a week. And even my lawyers were like, you don't have to do this. This is not legal. She can't technically ask you to do this. She has to give you, I want to say 72 hours by law before she tests you. And I go, you know what? No, she can test me anytime she wants during the week. I have nothing to hide. I want her to be comfortable. I want her to know that I'm working with her. I want to get better. So no, I let her drug test whenever she wants me to. Plus I get drug tested by Psyclarity. So it's impossible to, you know, fake that or not pass it, you know. The next thing, Lexapro. Brittany said I lied and never once took Lexapro. That is also not true. I took Lexapro I took Lexapro while Brittany was living in another house. I definitely got a prescription for it. I probably wasn't on it long enough. I was on it probably 2 to 3 weeks, but it wasn't doing anything to me. It was actually making me more angry. A couple years back, though, I did get a prescription filled for Lexapro, but I never ended up taking it. So, you know, her saying I never took it is a lie. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say it's a lie. It's untrue. Maybe she was just like, she didn't know. But like I said, I did go on it when she wasn't living with me. I even have the prescription bottle. I took a picture of it. I sent it to them. So I don't know why they were just making things like that up without fact checking. Outpatient. All this time she thought, okay, that I was an outpatient. I did research some outpatient places, but I have a deal going on with Psyclarity where I have to keep everything in-house, meaning my therapy, you know, my groups and all that stuff. And, you know, at that time, I just was going to go, I just decided to do therapy once a week with Psyclarity. So the outpatient was a little something different. I'm not sure why she thought about that. I personally didn't think I needed it at that time. I thought therapy was okay for now. I had I started getting some information on going to some AA meetings, things like that, but I just didn't think outpatient was necessary. I thought, therapy is enough for now. So is it something I'm going to need in the future? I don't know. But right now, no, I'm okay with just going to therapy once a week. So this is a big one, the next one I want to talk about, because this is a huge factor for me. Girls sliding into my DMs, girls sliding into Brittany's DMs and saying a lot of inappropriate, things that really, really were embarrassing. In the beginning of all this, again, when Brittany left, I was taking obviously lots of substance and I was just going down a hole. I was so angry about this Julian thing. And I know I keep bringing it up, but that was the ultimate trigger for me, like the ultimate trigger. The fact that, she had relations with my friend. So I was kind of like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to DM a bunch of girls and I'm going to have fun. And this is how I'm going to get back to you. Was this the right way to do things? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's embarrassing. I'm truly sorry that Brittany had to see that. I'm like, it's embarrassing to myself, to my son. I wish Brittany had never seen any of that. I can't believe these girls would, message her. She's been through enough. But, the only person I can blame is myself. Nobody else. My actions were disgusting and inappropriate for sure. I don't know why I decided to do that, but you have to understand how angry and how spiraled I was, out of control. I was just in a very, very bad place. And a lot of us have been there. A lot of us have been in bad places. And I'm not just saying that you slid into girls or guys' DMs, but we've done things that we definitely regret when we're in a hole, right? We spiral. That's what spiraling is. Nobody's perfect, okay? Everybody goes through ups and downs. We don't know what people are going through. And we all have different triggers, I'm 45 years old. I'm a father, and both Brittany and Cruz, honestly, these other women deserve more respect than that. So it won't happen again. I can promise that. It was inappropriate. And that's one thing I do want Brittany to know is I'm truly, truly sorry for.
Mochi Health is here to help you start your weight loss journey with caring, personalized support. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who truly listen and understand your unique needs. Eligible patients can access affordable GLP-1 medications delivered right to their door each month. No insurance? No problem. Mochi Health accepts FSA and HSA, making care accessible and affordable. And with 24/7 customer service, you'll never feel alone on your path to better health. Get started with Mochi Health today. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com with promo code AUDIO40.
So the last thing that I want to talk about that really stood out to me was when I had the conversation with Luke. I'm not sure if you're going to see this or not next season or not, but this is definitely a manipulation tactic for sure. So what I was trying to do is I was telling a lie to catch Brittany in a lie, because I know she was talking about our personal issues with people. And I felt like if I can get it, out of her by saying that I spoke to Luke and he told me, I thought maybe I could catch her in it. That's why I did with that. And I know that's really a bad thing to do. The fact that I have to, right, these are the little red flags, the things that I had to do, which I should have just been like, you know what? Why? Why am I doing these things? Why am I going out of my way to make up lies, to catch my own wife in lies? Like, this is so childish. I'm like, at what point did I not just realize, like, this is enough? Enough's enough. And, there was just no privacy. There was no privacy, which ultimately, I felt like there was no trust. If you don't have privacy, you don't have trust. And anytime there was an issue between Brittany and I, she would tell our whole friend group. Like, I don't know anybody in our friend group that's married that talks about their personal marriage to the public and to their friends. I don't know who does that. I just think it's wrong. I mean, I'm allowed my own opinion, and I would never, Brittany can run me through the mud. I will never talk negatively publicly about her. Does that make sense? I just don't think that's right. That's the mother of my child. Regardless if I'm right or wrong, I don't understand looking for the validation. I don't understand. Yes, I did something wrong. Yes, I'm getting help. What else do you want from me? I don't know. So anyway, I hope my goal here, and before I get a little heated, I just want Brittany and I to be good co-parents. I want us to walk away, be able to take our kid to Disney and be able to, just be able to talk and be in the same room. I know this for a fact. In 2 years, we're going to look back on this and be like, why the hell did we argue so much? Why did we fight? I don't want any of this. I mean, we had a good marriage for 10 years. It didn't work out. Okay, we go our own ways. It's a normal thing. There's thousands and thousands of divorces every day. Why can't we beat the system? Why do we have to go at each other? The only people that win are lawyers. So, what do you want? I don't know. So, anyway, I do love you, Brittany, and I hope that we can move past this sooner than later. But I understand she's upset, and I get that. So, anyway, that's enough of that. I'm not going to ever bring this up again. We are going to get into some questions now, okay? We're going to, on a lighter note. So anyway, sorry about all that, guys. I just wanted to clear that up. So anyway, here we go. Okay, first question. And by the way, thank you guys that DM'd me at In the Mind of the Man for all these questions. Anytime you have questions, whatever, please send them as well as your screen name or your name, whatever you want me to say, and I'll be gladly to talk about it. Also, guess what we're going to be doing? We are going to be diving back into the Vanderpump days, and we are going to be talking about things that they don't want you to know. And the things that they said, Jax, you are not allowed to talk about. But guess what? The show is over. Okay, I am going to talk about things that were not on air, things that were cut out, relationships that happened, things that they just wanted to bury. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure within the next couple of weeks. I got to go back, and I got to watch all the seasons and critique them. If you guys have any questions, I know you guys, the fans, you guys are awesome at watching the show and literally picking out every little thing. So if you have a question, please feel free to DM me at In the Mind of the Man with your name and telling me what season it was so I can dive back into that and watch that clip, because I want to clear up a lot of stuff that you guys probably want to know. Okay? So anyway, we're going to get into some questions this week, and here we go. So, how often in a day do men think about sex? Okay, that's a tough one. How often in a day? I probably should have Googled this. I know friends that don't think about it at all. I know friends that think about it all the time. I don't think there's an answer for this. I think there's different for everybody. I think we all think about sex differently. I don't really have an answer to that. There's some days I think about it all the time. There's some days I forget about it. I think it's different, So I don't know. I hope that answers that question. Why do men cheat on beautiful, successful women and then cheat with a lower, below average woman? This is called the Madonna syndrome. I've talked about this so many times. You put your beautiful, successful woman on this pedestal, right? She's your princess. You don't want anything to happen to her. You want to treat her like gold. You don't want to, you just don't want to do things that you would do with somebody that's on, I guess, lower or below average. So you have this other woman who may not meet the standards of wife material. Okay, maybe that's the best way to put it. But that way you take out all your frustration and things that you wouldn't do to your wife on this below average woman. I think that's the best way to put that. I don't know. I think it's called the Madonna syndrome. Look it up. I think I'm right on this, but let me know what you guys think on that one. Do you like being single again, and is it a relief? Gosh, this is a tough question. You guys are going for the throat right now. Do you like being single? This is going to hurt, I think, but I'm going to have to say yes. I do like being single because, again, I was in a very, very bad place for a very long time. I think that I needed to regroup a little bit. I think Brittany needed to regroup a little bit. I think we needed to find ourselves again. Like Brittany said, she needed to find her sparkle, which I definitely agree. I feel like I stole a lot of that from her. And I also feel like I lost myself. Like I wasn't the same person anymore. I was in a stagnant relationship and, I just wasn't happy anymore. And therefore I self-sabotaged my relationship and made her leave me. That's the truth. But to answer your question, do I like being single again? Yes, I do, because I'm starting to learn how to be comfortable with myself. I'm enjoying just a little bit of the peace and quiet. The only thing I wish is that I could see my son a little bit more, and hopefully that in the future is going to change. But no, I think Brittany and I are better like this. I really, really do. I like to get my relationship, my friendship, and my trust back with Brittany. So that's kind of my goal right now. So, okay. So if you could go back and do things differently with Brittany, what would you do? You treated her horribly. Okay. So if you could go back and do things different with Brittany, what would you do? I would probably, I got to be honest, I didn't put a lot of effort into our marriage during COVID. And I think that's kind of where it started to go bad. Because I lost my job, because we were pregnant, because we didn't know where the money was coming, I just felt extreme anxiety as a man, because as a man, we're supposed to, support our families. We're supposed to take care of them. And I felt like I was letting everybody down. Therefore, I took it out on Brittany, and that was probably the wrong thing to do. Did I treat her horribly? Absolutely. But you guys only see one side. You can't argue by yourself. Okay. Yes, I treated her bad, but she also treated me bad. Okay. It goes both ways. I wasn't getting what I needed out of the relationship at that time. I was looking for a little bit more comfort and maybe some words of affirmation, and I wasn't getting it. And I think I wasn't giving Brittany what she needed either. So I think there was just like the perfect storm. We were both angry. We were both living in loveless relationships. And we just couldn't get out of it. Instead of like working on it, fixing it, doing date nights and stuff, we just we lagged. But, it hurts me that people just say you treated her horribly. But how do you think she treated me? Nobody sees that. You just see what you see on social media. You see what you see on TV. You don't see how I was treated. What about the men? Men need to get treated well too. So I just want the best for her. Okay, and I want her to do well, and I want her to find somebody that can give her the love that I couldn't give her. That's the best way to put it. Why do you continue staying in the public? You're really horrible. Why do I continue staying in the public? Again, you're really horrible. Because that's my job. It's what I do. I don't really know what to say to that. I'm really horrible. Again, you don't know me. Everybody that said that I was horrible, I can't tell you how many times that I've met people who be like, I thought you were a horrible person until I've met you. And I think that's, the proof is in the pudding. I think, I don't think I'm a horrible person. What you see on TV is not necessarily who I am all the time. You're seeing me at different points. You're seeing me at arguments. You're seeing me at short clips on a TV show. That's what they want you to see. They want you to think that I'm this horrible, horrible person all the time, which is not true. But unfortunately, there's multiple cast members on a show. The show's 45 minutes long. It's not interesting to watch people get along. Who the hell gets along? What show do you watch on TV that people get along? I've never seen that before. So I'm no different than any other reality star, in my opinion, when it comes to, being a horrible person on TV. No, I state the facts. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. Am I dating? Because I shouldn't be. No, I'm not dating, and you're right. I should not be dating. Do you think you'll ever remarry and have more kids? I will never, ever remarry. And I will never, never have any more kids. So that's the answer to that one. Why aren't you doing more in your recovery than the therapy only once a week? Because right now, the therapy once a week is what's working for me. Should I go 2 days a week? Probably. I'm starting to go to some AA meetings, but I've been to a couple AA meetings and it's really, really not for me. Nothing against it. Like I said, you have to find something that's comfortable for you. I'm diving more into the mental health aspect as opposed to the AA meetings, because I personally think that, we drink and we do drugs because we have mental health issues. So just drinking and doing drugs is not going to fix the problem. And fixing that, I have to find the deep-rooted issues that made me do the drinking and the drugs. So I think it's more important that I dive into my mental health. So the therapy is just a little bit more, I'm getting a little bit more out of that. So, why do you post these quotes on Instagram being the victim when you are the one that creates your problems? I 100% create my own problems. You are absolutely right. I'm a self-sabotager. I got to be honest with you. All the things that I've done over the last 14 years, nobody has done to me. I've never had anybody do anything to me. Everything that I had happened to me, I created. I'm very, very aware of that. I'm definitely not playing the victim. I just like these quotes, like anything else. You read a book to make you feel good, right? When you go to therapy, you read books and you get it in your head and you study, and you learn them and you hope you put these into action. I feel like anything else, if you put sticky notes all over your house, it reminds you to be a good person. It reminds you to do the right thing. That's what I do with these quotes, because guess what? We spend all our time on social media, and I'm no different. I scroll all the time. So if I see the stuff that I post, then hopefully it'll sink in one day. That's the plan. Can a cheater really change? Can a leopard change its spots? I'm probably going to get a lot of flack on this one, but I personally don't think a cheater can change. Let's see. So every girlfriend I've had, unfortunately, maybe one or two when I was younger, I've cheated on. The only time I've never cheated is in my marriage. Now, I did have relations with somebody else while I was with Brittany, but we were not married. I'm going to be honest, I just don't think I'm the type of person that can be with one person. The first time I cheated, I just felt like it was a natural thing, which is really fucking disgusting, to be honest with you. So that's why I'm not going to date. I'm a walking red flag. I have to let people know, listen, I might be with somebody else too. And it's really weird to say out loud. It's, there's guys like me out there. I hate to admit it. There's other guys like me out there. And girls, that there is men like this out there. It's no secret. I'm just saying it out loud. And yeah, we are 100% red flags. Are we great to hang out with? Are we great to get advice from? Absolutely. But to date, no, we're not. Okay, so what is the hardest, most difficult thing for you right now? I think that's going through my divorce. I think the hardest thing any man, women too, but any man can go through is a divorce. I said this before. Losing my father was the worst thing in my entire life. It took me down. It drove me through the mud. But this divorce is it's killing me. It's literally killing me. Every single day, it's something else. And again, it's things that I'm doing. It's things that I feel like because I'm a public figure, it's just making it so much harder than it needs to be. My son, not seeing my son as much as I would like. I've dug myself in such a hole. And when I mean a hole, like such a big hole, that it's extremely hard to get out of right now. It's really, really hard. So yeah, I got to just sum that up as my divorce. And I'm really just want this to be over. Not because, I just want to move, whatever. I just want to move on with my life and get this out of the way so I can focus more on myself rather than this divorce. I just want Cruz and Brittany to be happy. And I'm trying the best I can. I really, really am. So, what's one piece of advice you could give Cruz when he's older? Be a polar opposite of me and you'll be fine. If he sees me and just do everything the opposite of I done, he'll be fine. He's such a loving kid and a good kid, and he's so sweet. He's just like his mother when it comes to being lovable and sweet. So another bit of advice is it's okay to not be okay. I want him to do whatever he wants. I want him to be happy. I will always give him whatever he wants. I know that's not what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to spoil your kids too much, but it's really hard not to spoil them. I want to give him everything he wants. And if he wants to live with me forever, that's fine. I don't care. My number one goal in life is that little boy. He is my main concern. So whatever I can do to make his life amazing, I'm going to do that. Do you think you're a narcissist? Absolutely. I 100% think I'm a narcissist. I don't think it's a secret. I think everybody else out there thinks I'm a narcissist. I know people throw this word around a lot. Now, have these traits been around forever? Yeah, they have. But the word narcissist, I think I hear it at least 10 times a day. Scrolling, I see it everywhere. The most successful people, though, are narcissists. They really, really are. But that being said, I've never been diagnosed, but I've definitely looked it up. And yes, I have a lot of the characteristics of narcissism. What I really want to do, though, is have somebody on here that's a little bit more educated in narcissism and can define it a little bit and maybe let them know a little bit about me. And they can kind of pick me apart and say, hey, this is Jax, why you are a narcissist. This is point A, point B, and point C. What can I do to fix that? Do I need to fix that? Is it necessary for you to be a narcissist to be successful? Because I've also heard that too. Personally, I think everybody has a little bit of narcissism. Do I think they're full-blown narcissists? No. But I think there's tendencies that people have during certain situations where you can say, well, that's narcissist. So, yeah. So, like I said, follow back. I think in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to try to get a therapist on there because this word is the biggest word on social media. I mean, every time I'm on social media, I see the word narcissist. So we should probably break it down a little bit and, see what it's all about. Funniest TV moment. That's so funny because I just got this question from, I think, Us Weekly. They asked me, what was your funniest TV moment? I got to say, dressing up as a woman for Tom Schwartz at his bachelorette party. I got to say, dressing up as an old man for my bachelor party, those were up there. Again, you know who was in charge of that both times, Mr. Sandoval. He was the one that led the led the run on that. He took care of all that stuff. So, but yeah, those were pretty funny moments. I'd like to know what you guys think. What was your funniest moment? When we go back into dissecting the episodes, I want to know what you guys thought was really, really funny. And yeah, I can break them down for you because there's so many seasons, there's so many episodes. I'm probably skipping some really funny moments. So if you have any, let me know. We'll talk about it. What is your biggest insecurity? Right now, I have a lot of insecurities. If you were to ask me back in the day, what was my biggest insecurity? And when I was on substance abuse, I would be like, fuck you. I don't have any insecurities. But now that I'm sober, all the insecurities are starting to come out because now I'm very aware of my insecurities as opposed to, being on substance. I didn't even know. I didn't pay attention to it. So now that I fixed that patch, I feel like with sobriety, now that my other things are starting to come out. So my insecurities, I think I'm just worried that I feel like you're not going to get the same Jax as everybody loves out there. I feel like you're not going to get my biggest personality. I feel like that I'm taking a back seat now on a lot of things. I feel like I'm not interesting. I feel like I become such an introvert. I get anxiety about going out to restaurants. I get anxiety about being in large crowds. Like all these things, and I talk about this in therapy, like how, because I'm relearning myself. I'm 45 years old. I've been on drugs and alcohol for so long that these substances helped me go to events, go to restaurants, and be social with people and care what people are actually talking about. And right now, I'm so aware of who I am, and I'm so now the insecurities are starting to come out because I'm seeing them. Like I said, I'm self-conscious about certain things. I think that's why I'm in the gym all the time. I love going to the gym because I like to look a certain way, and I've been told my whole life that I looked a certain way because I was in the modeling industry. Now I'm diving back into that, and maybe my looks, the way I act. I don't know, a little bit of all that, and I'm really nervous for you guys to see how I acted. Like I'm going to be really insecure about that, about how I looked on TV, because I'm not going to lie to you guys. I gave myself the ick, if you know what that means. Do you think had you gotten sober earlier, you and Brittany would still be together? Okay. Again, I'm probably going to get some flack on this too. No. I don't think Brittany and I would still be together, and everybody's looking up at me right now. No. Again, I'm going to get back on this. My marriage was not working out. I think we both changed in the marriage a little bit. I know I have. And like I've said this before, instead of just being a man and sitting Brittany down and being like, listen, this marriage is just not working out anymore. We should go to therapy or we should take a break. That would have been the right thing to do, and we wouldn't have any of these fucking problems that I caused. Instead, I decided, so let's make her leave me. Let's double up on the drinking, double up on the substance, and let her get so fed up with it that she leaves me. So that's what happened. But I just think that Brittany and I grew apart. And yeah, that's that. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with growing apart. Sometimes marriages don't work out, and that's okay. I just don't want to go through the rest of my life being in an okay marriage, just being in it just to be in it. Even though we have a son, I think my son will appreciate it longer down the line that we decided to separate, because when you're living in a home and when you have a kid, they see all that, they absorb it. So I want Brittany to be happy. And I think we're both at our happiest when we're separated. Do you have to get all, did you have to get all those nose jobs because of your cocaine use? No. I didn't like the way my nose was. I really didn't. I wanted a nose job years and years ago, but I couldn't afford it. So, I just, my whole family has the same nose. We all do. So, I had an opportunity to get it done. The first time I got it, I wanted to get it done. The second time I got it is because I walked into a window. As you guys know, it was filmed. We were going to Miami, right? I was in a hurry. I needed to buy a bathing suit. And I ran into the store. It was G-Star on Melrose, and they had a glass front. And I went face first right into the window, smashed my nose, blew out a flip-flop, passed out on the floor. It was really, really bad. And then I had to get on a plane, bloody nose, fractured nose, to go to Miami. And that's why I needed the second nose job. So it was not good. Who in your past partners do you think you did the dirtiest? I mean, obviously we know Brittany. Okay, so I think we can just move past that one. I think, gosh, I've done a lot of girls dirty, to be honest. I self-sabotaged every one of my relationships. It's hard to pick one because I did them all bad. I'm not going to lie. I was a bad person when it came to relationships. I would say between Tiffany, I would say Tiffany was probably the worst. She did not deserve that, and she was so good to me. Tiffany, for those of you who don't know, you guys saw her on the show. I was going back and forth between her and Carmen at the time. And Tiffany was just so amazing to me. She, brought me into her circle. I was always in Vegas. She always took care of me. She always gave me words of affirmation. She always included me in everything. We always spent really good time together. I just think I just treated her very, very poorly. And she's happily married now. She's got a couple beautiful kids, and it was a good thing because then she would never have what she has now. But she's listening to this. I'm really sorry, Tiffany. But I follow her on Instagram. I follow her family on Instagram. I always say, hi, how are you? And I'm glad that we can move past it. But yeah, I felt bad how I handled that situation. So, okay, guys, that's the last of the questions. I really love doing these questions, guys. But like I said, we are going to get really into it with the Vanderpump, because I think that would be really cool to answer a lot of questions that you guys have. And I also want to talk about stuff that didn't make it on the show that they don't want me to talk about. So anyway, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for listening to In the Mind of a Man. And don't forget, we got season 2 of The Valley coming up very, very soon. Again, guys, watch the whole season before you judge me, please. All right, guys, we'll see you next week on In the Mind of a Man. I'm out of here.
Pluto TV has all the shows and movies you love streaming for free. That means laughter is free with gut-busting comedies like The Neighborhood, Boomerang, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Bueller. Mystery is free with countless cases to crack from Criminal Minds, Tracker, and Matlock.
I'm a lawyer, like the old TV show.
And thrills are free with heart-pumping hits like The Walking Dead and Pulp Fiction. Correctamundo. Feel the free Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.